Hi everyone, welcome to today's tutorial. I am going to show you how to crochet this clown skull bunny balaclava. It's really similar to a balaclava I did last year, which was just a skull, but I wanted to, make it a little more fun, so I added clown triangles and then also did it half and half, which I think is really cool. This is what it looks like on the head form. This time I did it in acrylic because a lot of people have been requesting that I start making things in acrylic because most people that follow my tutorials use that. So I'm just using a medium weight for acrylic, picked up at Michael's, and as you can see, looks pretty good. That being said, this is a crochet tutorial. I'm not going to show you step by step how to do each stitch, so you have to be familiar with how to do a double crochet, how to do a single crochet, and how to chain. If you know how to do those, then you can follow this one. Also, warning, there's a lot of sewing. The skull is sewn onto the face, same with the triangles, and the ears are also sewn down, so if you're afraid of sewing, now's a good chance to get used to that. Oh, I do have a written pattern for sale. It's like $5. You do not need to buy the pattern to follow this tutorial. I just have the written pattern available for purchase if you want to support me or have a written version in the future. That being said, you can just follow this whole tutorial and you don't need to buy it. Just want to put that out there. I also forgot to mention, if you'd like to make these and sell them, you're welcome to go ahead and do that. Just tag me in the description of your listing so other people can find the tutorial if they'd like to make them. Yeah. What? So without further ado, let's get to the tutorial. Let's address the black dye that's stuck to the sides of my fingers. I was handling something I didn't realize had a bit of dye on it, and that's why my fingers look extra crusty. Oh gosh, it looks even worse in the viewfinder. Anyways, I'm gonna start with the balaclava headpiece first, because yeah, that's the biggest one. I'm using blue and red. I think these colors are so fun together. Very clown, very court jester. Circus clown? Anyways, I'm gonna start with blue. You can either start with a magic circle or you can do what I like to do, and that is chain 3 and slip stitch at the top of that chain 3. Oh yeah, and I'm using a 5.5mm crochet hook that was suggested on the yarn, and that matches my gauge swatch, which we'll get to in a sec. Then after I have my little loop created, we're going to start crocheting into that loop. So that is chain 3. And then we're going to double crochet 6 into this loop. 5. And on my 6th one, I'm going to show you how to do a color change. So as you can see, to do a double crochet, I yarn over, I insert my hook just like a normal double crochet into that circle, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and then to finish the double crochet, normally we yarn over and pull through, right? But we're not going to do that. We're going to finish that last pull through with the red yarn. So I'm going to drop the blue, I'm going to grab the red, I'm going to yarn over and pull through with the red, and I'm going to pull my little blue end tight, and look at that. Oh, I've got hair stuck to it too. Sorry. And look at that. Perfect yarn changeover so I can start crocheting in red. Then I am going to double crochet 6 in red. And you can crochet over your ends or tie them, totally up to you how you want to finish that. I just tie them and then forget about them. Anyways, yeah, so 1, 2, and just like that last row, we're going to do our 6th again. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and before I finished that double crochet, I'm switching back to blue. So I'm going to drop my red, I'm going to pick up my blue again, I'm going to finish that yarn over with the blue. And look at that. Look how perfect that is. Now, this is the one part, I completely ignore that chain 3. I ignore it. A lot of people like to slip stitch in the top of that chain 3. If you do that, that's fine. But I don't. I prefer to slip stitch into the very first double crochet that we did. Like so. And I just completely ignore the chain 3 the whole time. And it looks a bit wonky at first, but it kind of evens itself out. This is the gauge swatch part, And I like to do the first circle and then use that as the gauge swatch because I think that's the best way to determine it, especially when we're working in the round. Mine is 2 inches across. If I go straight through the middle, it's 2 inches. So keep that in mind. You want to have it 2 inches across, like exactly, or pretty close, I guess. Yeah, 2 inches across for the first initial circle, which is 12 stitches, 6 being blue, 6 being red. So for row 2, we're going to continue with our blue. We're going to chain 3, and then we're going to do 6 increases in all 6 stitches. And obviously because I slip stitched out of the first double crochet, we're going to do that in that exact same stitch. It may seem like a bit much, but it'll all kind of work out in the end. So I'm going to do double crochet increases around the whole thing. I have one more stitch to put in this one to finish that increase, and same as I did the other color switches, I'm not going to finish this double crochet. I'm going to drop my blue, I'm going to pick up my red, and I'm going to finish my double crochet with red just so I have that satisfying color switch, and then I'm going to continue with red. 2 double crochet increases in each stitch. So you'll end up with 12 on this side, 12 stitches on this side, 24 stitches in total. Just like the last round, I'm just going to finish my increase. So as I'm finishing this last increase, I'm going to switch back to blue for the last double crochet. And as you can see, I didn't finish that double crochet. Switching back to blue. Then, of course, ignoring that chain 3, slip stitching into the top of that first double crochet of that row. And now we're done our second row. Looks great. So that's 24 stitches in total, 12 of each color. And obviously not including that chain 3, we're ignoring that again. So to start, we're going to do chain 3 for the third row. Then we're going to do a double crochet 1 and then an increase. Double crochet 1, increase. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets. And I'm going to start the first one in the stitch we just slip stitched out of. So 1 double crochet, increase. One double crochet, increase. So I'm finishing that last stitch of the blue round, or the blue part. Obviously not going to finish that double crochet, I'm going to switch back to my red. And then I'm going to continue that pattern on the other side. So 1 double crochet, increase, 1 double crochet, increase, all around to the front. So I'm just going to finish up that last few stitches. And of course, when I get to that last double crochet, I'm not going to finish it. I'm going to switch back to my blue, finish it with the blue. And then I'm going to slip stitch into the top of that first double crochet of the row. And there we go. That is our third row. It's looking so good, right? So clean. I'm going to chain 3 for the 5th row, and then I'm going to do 2 double crochets, increase. Double crochet, increase. Double crochet, increase around the whole thing. And obviously I'm starting in the stitch that I chained out of, like we always have been. I'm sure you're used to it at this point, but finishing the blue off, I'm going to finish that last double crochet, but not completely before I switch back to red. And then I'm going to continue with the red side, doing double crochet, increase, double crochet, increase around the whole thing, and then, yeah. And now that we've finished the red part of the row, I have 1 more double crochet to go. And then I'm switching back to the blue, like that. Then I'm going to slip stitch at the top of that first double crochet, and then we're going to start the next row. This row, there was 48. I don't remember if I said for the last row was 36. Anyways, we're going to start with the last row of increases, and then we get to kind of do less confusing things. So start with a chain 3. Then we're going to do double crochet 1, 2, 3, increase, double crochet 1, double crochet 2, double crochet 3, increase. So 1, 2, 3, increase, 1, 2, 3, increase around the whole thing. Looking really good so far. So here I'm finishing up the blue part with that last double crochet, and before I finish, of course, I'm switching back to the red. And then continuing the 3 double crochets, increase. So 1, 2, 3, increase, 1, 2, 3, increase around the whole thing. And how many is that going to leave us with? That's going to leave us with 60. And here I'm finishing up row 5. There we go. There's our first 5 rows, and we don't have to do any more increases, thank goodness. Now, from rows 6 till 9, so the next 4 rows, we're just going to do plain double crochets around the whole thing, color switching obviously in those same spots. So it's 60 stitches in total, or 60 double crochets in total, 30 blue, 30 red for the next 4 rows. So from row 6 till 9. So I'm going to do that because I'm sure you're probably bored. Alright, so here is where we're at. This is what it looks like. Looking pretty good. And we're gonna put the eyeballs in. So I'd recommend trying it on. Make sure this fits over your head and like it sits right above your eyes. So yeah, we're gonna start with the 10th row. We're gonna chain 3. And then we're gonna double crochet 22 blue stitches, and we're going to start in the stitch that we just chained 3 out of. So 22 blue stitches. So I finished 22 double crochets. This is where I'm at now, and then we're going to put the first like eyeball hole here. So to do that, I'm going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'm going to skip the next 6 stitches, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the stitch after that, I'm going to put a double crochet. There we go, looking good. It's upside down, but this is what it looks like. And then I'm going to put 1 more double crochet in blue, and then I'm going to switch over to red, because we're obviously starting the red portion. Then I'm going to double crochet 2 in red. So 1, 2, just like that, and then I'm going to chain 6. Then I'm going to skip the next 6 stitches, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then in the stitch after that, I am going to place a double crochet. And this is what our little eyeball holes will look like. So it's coming together really nice. Then I'm going to double crochet 22, and that will finish off this row. And then from rows 11, which is the next row, to, I don't know, you can do that for 10 to 15 more rows. It's just plain double crocheting rows. Easy peasy. So I'm going to finish off this row, and then I'm going to show you what I do when I get to the eyeballs. I am on the 11th row, and as you can see, I'm at the point where I'm going over those chains, and I just like to treat each chain like it's a double crochet, and I just crochet in each chain. So as long as you have 6 double crochets, you are all good. So there's 2, and you can insert through both sides or just one side of the chain, totally up to you, as long as it's uniform. And this is what it looks like. So very clean, easy peasy. As long as you have 6, you're good. And then I'm just gonna finish crocheting that row, and then the rest of the rows you can either end with like with 21 to 24 rows. Totally up to you. I like to do 23, 24. It depends how much you want on your neck. Some people like a little less so they can wear like something over it, or some people would like more. Again, totally up to you. Keep trying it on, but I would aim for 21 to 24 rows in total. That's like in total. This is row 11, so you want 10 to 15 rows after this. Here's the balaclava all finished. As you can see, eyes are here. It is split right down the center here. And oh my gosh, all these little things stuck to it. Anyways, so that's what it looks like. Time to do the skull, and this is probably the hardest part of the tutorial, but that's okay. We'll work on it together. And I'm working with white yarn now, same exact size and brand, also continuing to use a 5.5mm crochet hook. Same things. I'm going to start with a slip knot, and then I'm going to chain 30. After we have 30, I'm going to slip stitch into that first chain, like so, to create a loop. And then I'm going to chain 30 again. So we finished our 30, and then I'm going to insert my hook into that first chain and slip stitch, so we end up with something like this. These are going to be the eye holes. Now I am just going to chain 1, and I'm going to single crochet 60 around the whole thing. So I'm crocheting all the way around here, here, right back to the start. So this is what it looks like after I single crochet around the first eye. So I started here, went all the way around, and then I'm just going to continue around this one too, meet up at the start. I know this looks goofy, but you have to trust the process. So I'm going to slip stitch into the first single crochet that I did in this row. Then I'm going to snip off my end, and I'm going to weave everything in at the end. Oh, jeez. So I'm just kind of ignoring my ends for now, but this is what you have at the moment. Now we're gonna move on to the next step. So we're gonna find the center. I think this is about the center, and then I'm going to count 12 stitches out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm gonna insert my hook in the 12th stitch from the center. So 12 out from the center. I'm gonna do a slip knot. Then I'm just going to pull my slip knot through, and then I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to start a row. I am going to single crochet 12, but I'm going to put that first single crochet into the stitch that I just chained out of, so the 12th stitch from the center. Now I am single crocheting 24 across the top, all right along here. So this is what it looks like, 24 single crochets across the top. That is row 1. So for row 2, I'm going to flip it over, and I'm not going to chain 1. I'm going to skip the first single crochet, and then I'm going to start crocheting in that second single crochet. And I'm going to single crochet 22 stitches. So this is what 22 stitches looks like. Obviously, I am skipping that last one in the end because we did 24 the last row, now we did 22, and we skipped one at the start and the end. So I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to start row 3. And row 3, we're going to skip the first stitch, we're going to start crocheting in that second stitch, and I'm going to single crochet 20 stitches now. So moving on to the 4th row, I'm going to flip it over again. I'm going to skip that first stitch and start crocheting the second stitch, and I'm going to single crochet 18. Then I'm at the end of the row. I'm going to flip it over, and I'm moving on to row 5. So I'm going to skip that first stitch like always, go into the second stitch and single crochet 16. Now that I'm at the end of the row, I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to start row 6. Skipping the first stitch, then I'm going to single crochet in the second stitch, and I'm single crocheting 14 this time. Now that I'm finished that row, I'm going to flip it over and I'm doing row 7. I'm going to skip that first stitch, go into the second stitch, and I'm single crocheting 12. So now that I'm at the end of the row, I'm just going to snip my yarn. And at this point I can weave in my end, or I can do that later, totally up to you. Now we're going to flip it upside down and we're going to start on the bottom piece here. So just like the last time, we're going to find the center. I'm going to choose my center to be right there. Then I'm going to count 15 stitches out from the center. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Just inserting my hook. I'm going to do a slip knot, put that on my hook, and I'm going to pull through, and I'm going to chain 1, and now I'm going to start row 1, which is on the bottom. And row 1, I'm going to single crochet 12, but I'm going to start by single crocheting in that stitch we just slip stitched out of. So single crochet 12. So that leaves us with a pretty big gap. The next thing to do is to chain 2, 1, 2, and then now I'm going to count 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in that stitch after that, I am going to place a single crochet, just like that. And that is like our little nose, or lack of nose. Anyways, on this side, I'm going to continue single crocheting 12. So that is row 1. I'm going to flip it over and start row 2. I'm going to skip that first single crochet. I'm going to skip the first stitch, insert my hook in the second stitch, and I'm going to single crochet 24. And I'm going straight across here. When I get to those chains, I'm just going to place a stitch in. Just like before, we're leaving that last stitch empty, just so it kind of tapers more. Then I'm flipping it over, and I'm going to start row 3. So again, skipping that first stitch, going right into the second one, I'm going to single crochet 22. Alright, so once I'm finished that row, I'm going to flip it over, and for row 4, I'm going to skip the first stitch, I'm inserting my hook into the second stitch, then I'm going to slip stitch in the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to skip the next stitch, and then I'm going to put my stitch into the next one. So I'm skipping one, going in there, and I'm going to do a quad triple crochet. So normally a triple crochet is 2, but for quad I do 3 of them. Not doing it in that stitch, I'm going to go to the next one, yarn over, and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's why it's called a quad triple crochet, because you're doing it 4 times. Don't worry, I'll show you again. So I'm going to chain 1, put 3, I'm going to yarn over 3 times on my hook, skip the next stitch, go into the next one, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And this kind of forms the teeth. I know it's upside down right now. Then I'm going to do that a total of 6 times, but don't worry, I'll keep showing you. So I'm going to chain 1, then I'm going to wrap around my hook 3 times, skip the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And there we go. So you're going to repeat that 6 times. So I have this one, which is the first one, then I have 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do that 3 more times. Chain, quad, triple crochet, chain, quad, triple crochet. So I've completed 6 of them. This is what it looks like. Now, for row 5, I guess this is technically row 5, I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to crochet along here now. Now, I'm not going to chain, I'm skipping the first stitch, and then I'm going into the second one, which is actually a chain, but that's all right. I'm going to single crochet 11, that is what it looks like. I know it's looking a little rough, but don't worry, we're going to pull it all together. I'm going to flip it over, and now I'm going to crochet in this direction. And now we're going row 6. I'm skipping that first stitch and I'm going to that second stitch and I'm single crocheting 10. At this point, as you can see, almost done, but it's kind of, unresolved. The last thing we're going to do is single crochet around the whole thing, around the whole exterior, all the way around, and then I'm going to stop right here. I just kind of put the single crochets wherever I think they would kind of go, and that always seems to work out for me. Obviously it's a little easier on sections where there's actual stitches, but for the sides I just put my hook, every so often wherever I think a stitch belongs. So as you can see, it looks so much cleaner. I went around the whole thing. And I'm just going to slip stitch in the top of that first single crochet of the row. Oh my gosh, I almost cut my project. That's okay. And at this point, I'm just going to weave all my ends in. So this is what the skull looks like. Let me zoom out. There we go. And we're going to kind of stretch it into place when we sew it onto the rest of the balaclava, but it's looking really good. Really easy to make. This would actually make a great Halloween decoration if you would sew this on pillows. You could just nail this to a wall, honestly. But it's going to go on like this. And I know this doesn't look great right now, but don't worry, we're going to kind of stretch it out and sew everything together and it'll look so good. So it's time to make the ears. I already made one. This is what it looks like. It's very long. I make one in red, and then I make one in blue, or opposite colors, just because I think that's fun. And then I add a contrasting color on the edge, because I think it's just nice. It's a nice little addition. So we start with a chain down the center, and then we kind of crochet like this, back and forth, till we get out. You'll kind of see. But I also make 2 in white, so it has an inner ear. Anyways, let's get started. So since I did that last one in blue, I'm going to do the next one in red. Start with a slip stitch. Start with a slip knot. Insert my hook. And then I am going to chain 50. So once I've chained 50, I'm going to chain 3. And that will be our first double crochet. All right, and then in that 4th stitch from the hook, I'm going to place a double crochet, and I'm going to start double crocheting along this whole chain. So I'm double crocheting all the way to the very end of this chain. And that's 50 double crochets, I'm pretty sure. So as you can see, I have this long double crochet going, and in the very end, I have 1 more stitch left, and I'm actually going to put 6 double crochets into that stitch. So putting 6 in there, just ignore my end, but putting 6 in there kind of brings us around, and now we're going to double crochet back up this side of the chain. And that is 50 stitches, 50 double crochets. So this is the bottom of the ear, and we're going all the way back up. So now I've crocheted back to the start. This is what the end looks like. It's got a curve, the top is flat. I'm gonna flip it over. Oh, and a fluff is stuck. And I'm going to chain 3. This is the second row, by the way, and this is gonna count as my first double crochet. I'm gonna skip, obviously, the first one because that's my first double crochet. And then I'm gonna go into the second one like this. And then I am going to keep double crocheting all the way down until I get to that part where those 6 double crochets are. Then I'll show you what to do. So now I'm at the end. I stopped right before all the double crochets are, or where the 6 double crochets are. This is where they're at the very end. Now I'm going to increase in each one. So 2 double crochets in each one of the 6 that are at the very end. Like that, and that'll bring us all the way back around. So there we go. That's looking really good, actually. Brings us all the way back around, and that was 6 increases in a row, so 12 stitches at the very end. Anyways, now we're going to double crochet all the way back to the start, and that would be the finish. So now I'm at the start and I've completed the second row, so you can see. If you were doing the inner ear, this is where you stop. So for example, this is an inner ear. I just did it in white so it could match the skull, but you could do it in contrasting colors. You could do it in any color you wanted. I just did it in white. Anyways, but we're gonna continue because we're doing the outer ear. Now we're starting the third row. First step is to chain 3, that will be our first double crochet. And then I'm going to start double crocheting in the second stitch, and I'm going to double crochet 50, and double crocheting 50 will lead me back to right here where that increase is, right in that stitch. There we go. Now to go around the end, I'm going to do 1 double crochet, increase, 1 double crochet, increase. So I'm going to do the 1 double crochet and the increase in the next one. I'm going to repeat that 6 times around the end, and that'll leave us right here. So 1 double crochet, then in the next one, oh my gosh, today is not my day, increase. Then I'm going to repeat that 6 times. It'll leave us. So now to finish the third row, I'm just going to double crochet all the way back to the start. So I'm almost finished the last row. I'm just going to put that last double crochet here. But instead of finishing that double crochet, I'm going to switch to blue. And this part's optional. You don't have to do this last row, which is row 4. But I feel like it just adds, you know, a little bit of fun, a little bit of color. Finish that double crochet, flip it around, and I am going to single crochet around the whole thing, and just single crochets in every single stitch. That's pretty much it. So I chain 1, and then I'm going to crochet over my ends just to make it easier for myself, and I'm just going to single crochet. Easy peasy. So now I'm all done this ear, and great, there's a hair. So this is what it looks like, and of course, oh my gosh, okay. Of course, sometimes it curls a bit, but I just find flattening out, boom, all done, all good. I'm really happy I did the contrasting because that looks so good. And I've got 2 opposite ears. Perfect. And then I also have 2 white ones that are only 2 rows wide, or yeah. And they'll be sewn on like that. So that's all finished. The last step is crocheting these little triangles, and each one is going to go above and below the eye. So I did 2 in red, and then I'm going to do 2 in blue. It's really simple. Oh my gosh, almost lost my thread. I'm using same hook as I have been for everything else. I'm going to start with a slip knot, and then I'm going to chain 2. Then in that first chain, or technically the second chain from the hook, the first one we did, I'm going to single crochet 2. There you go, 1, 2, that's what we've got. We're gonna flip it around this way. We're gonna chain 1. I'm gonna single crochet in the first stitch, and then I'm gonna increase in the second stitch. So 2 single crochets in the next one. And there we go. We're gonna flip it around again. I'm gonna chain 1. I'm gonna single crochet in the next 2 stitches. Go 1, 2. Then I'm going to increase in that last stitch. 1, 2. There we go. We're all done our triangle. You can cut the ends off and weave it in. All right, it's time to sew on, or just, I guess, do all the sewing. So we have our balaclava here. You can use a styrofoam head, and you can also not use a styrofoam head. This one's okay, you can get away with not using one, but for the sake of the tutorial, I'm gonna put it on the head to show you better. So I have the skull mask, and I'm just gonna place it on here. I like to pin everything down, and I start from the center and put everything where it needs to be. Like, I wanna make sure this is lined up perfectly, which I believe it is. Then I'm just gonna start pinning it down. That part looks good. And I try to keep the eyes the same distance around the balaclava underneath. So like so. So this is what it looks like all pinned together. As you can see, I lined that middle tooth up with that line, and then I try to evenly split everything. And I also try to make sure the circumference around here is like about the same, if that makes sense. Same with this side. Obviously I'm gonna have to pull this together a bit when I sew it, but that's all right. That is what it looks like. Now for the sewing, I sew around the whole thing first, all around here. And then I go back in and sew the eyes and the nose. But the first thing to do is to do the exterior, just so everything stays in place. When it comes to thread choices, I'm just using a needle and thread. I prefer to use this over like yarn as thread, just because I feel like it's a lot more seamless and it makes it look a bit cleaner and less bulky. But I would say do whatever you're comfortable with. Or sorry, use whatever you're comfortable with. If you prefer something else, then do that. I'm just giving you my recommendation because see, look how clean that is. Amazing. It's super easy. A lot of people are afraid of sewing, I find, in the crochet community. But you gotta face those fears, learn how to hand sew. It's a great skill. And if you know how to crochet, like, it'll come very easy. So I'm just gonna finish sewing around the entire skeleton. So everything is stitched down around the outside. It's gonna stay in place. I just have the pins here because I'm going to sew down the inside of the eyes. So this part, and then this part, and then I'm also gonna do the nose as well, just so it stays in place. But overall, it's looking pretty good. Alright, so I'm almost done sewing. You can skip this part, but I like to just do this for extra stability. So as you can see, the eyes are completely sewn down, the nose, look, it's all good. It's not going anywhere. Okay, that was a little too much. Last thing for the face, actually it's not. Last thing for this area, we're just gonna sew down this area, and I'm going around like this. I'm not gonna sew individual teeth down because that's too much. I'm just gonna go around the mouth like that. And that should be enough, or it is enough. But if you wanna do each individual tooth, that's fine with you, totally up to you. But I find the exterior, like right around here, is just enough. So now that the face is done, we're gonna move on to the little triangles. I think I'm gonna do opposite colors for opposite triangles, so I'm just gonna pin them down like this. And then stitching them down, I think, will help with their shape quite a bit. So this is how I've pinned the triangles down. I think that looks really good. I like lining it up with right here. I think that's cooler. Obviously, you can switch red to that side and blue to that side, whatever you think. I think this one's fun though, because it's opposite. Yeah, anyways, I'm just gonna sew them down with matching thread, and we'll be all done the face. Alright, so this is what the face looks like. Let me angle the camera up. Okay. Pretty cool. So I'm gonna set this aside. Next thing we're gonna work on are the ears. And here is a finished ear. I just wanna show you. So I sew the inside onto the inside of the ear, and then I fold it over like this, and it creates just like this perfect ear that flops around nice and, you know, really easy to do. So I'm gonna do it with this one. So I have my outer ear here, and then I have my inner here, and I'm gonna sew the inner part down. And I'm just gonna do that with white thread because this is white. So I'm gonna sew the whole thing down, all the edges. And then, yeah, we'll get back to it. All right, so here is our ear. The whole thing is sewn down on all the edges, not going anywhere. I still have my thread connected, but I'm going to fold these edges in like so. I'm gonna hide that end. Oops, forgot to weave that in. I'm folding them in like this, and I'm sandwiching them together so these two ends are right smack in the center. And then I just like to sew this down together like so. Just like this, and don't worry too much about how this looks ugly because it's gonna be hidden anyways. Then I'm just gonna sew back to the center because I don't feel like cutting my yarn. And now we're gonna bring these together and sew down here. And I'm using white so you can see it better, but you can obviously change to a similar thread. And I like to go 10 stitches down. So I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just gonna put a little needle there as a marker. And so I'm just gonna continue sewing. Now, once I'm at that point, I'm going to tie it off and weave in my ends. And the very last step is sewing the ears to the balaclava. So here is the back of the head, and it's easier with this one because we have an exact center. But I like to count 4 rows down, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I like to sew it at the end of the 4th row, just like this. And I'm using the contrasting color because I think that's cooler, but again, you can sew it on however you like. I like to keep it fairly close to like the center back just because I find when it's on the side of the head, it feels more like a dog than a rabbit. But again, if you want to go for that, totally up to you. I'm doing the same for this one, 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. I'm gonna pin it down right there. And now it's time for sewing. So I have this ear stitched down, and I just sew a big square down because I do it on the underside here. I'm going to do the exact same thing for this ear. I like to start right in the center, and then I go around this way here. I flip the ear up, sew underneath, sew back up like a square. And when I'm going down the side, I only like to go down about 4 rows. I think that's enough for stability. And I really do it like that just because I don't like the ears flipping up when somebody's wearing it. So now that I'm in the corner here, I'm going to sew down 4 rows. So once I've stitched down to here, I'm going to flip the ear back. And I know it's upside down, but I like to sew across here like this. And I don't do it very tight, I kind of do it loosely, as long as it's just kind of tacked down. I just don't want the ear flipping back up. So, as you can see, this is not going anywhere. I'm going to flip it back down, and then I'm going to sew back up here, and then to the start. So that is what the back looks like all finished. These ears aren't going anywhere. They're in place. I know it looks kind of funny with the swapped colors, but I like the way the swapped colors look from the front. Anyways, so this is the finished balaclava. Looks really good. Obviously you can do different color combinations, but I thought this would be fun. Now it's the end of the tutorial. You're all finished your balaclava. I hope you learned something. I hope it turned out good. I'd love to see it in different colors, especially pastel. I just chose red and blue because I thought that was giving, like, I don't know, circus clown, but it's kind of giving America. Just a bit. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching. Bye!